Okay. So questions, yes, 10 MCQs we are supposed to do, but since exam is coming, so now students are like, yes ma'am, we have done a lot of MCQ, we don't need any more MCQ. Now we just want to know some mnemonics so that we can remember stuff in the exam under the great pressure. So first we will learn about gram stain. The mnemonic is come in and stain. So in gram stain, it's basic knowledge. If you have done your microbiology practicals, that initially there will be a blue stain and in the end you have a red or pink stain, whatever you think it as. So for simplicity, I'll just tell it is a violet stain and a pink stain. Okay, so first one will be some kind of violet. So C, you'll just write crystal violet. Then I is for iodine. Iodine is a mordant. It will bind the violet color to the bacteria. Gram positive bacteria, thick cell wall, they will take up this stain and iodine will bind it strongly. Then you have and is acetone or alcohol that will decolorize. So if it's a gram positive bacteria, it will not get decolorized because the cell wall is so thick. Anyway, so decolorize, if it's gram positive, then it will not get decolorized. If it is gram negative, then it will get decolorized. And if it gets decolorized, now it does not have any color. Now it will happily take up this pink color, that is saffronin. Okay, so come in and stain. Poor gram stain, they do not take up gram staining. So that is MRCS. So this is Priti ma'am's mnemonic. So what is M? M, you can guess easily, mycoplasma, a very weird organism. It is unique in many ways. R is rickettsia. That is also another weird organism. Very strange organism. Anyway, rickettsia. Then S, C is for chlamydia, another. Then S is spirochetes. As you can see, all these 4 bacteria are very strange bacteria. They are not a typical bacteria which comes to your mind when you talk about a bacteria as such. Okay, next we'll go to Zn stain. This is also Priti ma'am's mnemonic. I remember how class has asked mnemonic. So C is carbol fusion. H is heat, and here heat is a mordant. By heating it, you are fixing the stain. A is acid. Remember, that was acetone or alcohol. See, this is a confusing point in MCQ. You will see acid, alcohol, acetone. Everything is same. No, it's not same. Here's that instant. This is acid, which is H2SO4. Then mnemonic, M is methylene blue. So basic thing you remember, in gram stain, first there is blue stain, and in the end there is red stain. But in Zn stain, first there is a red color stain, and in the end there is a blue color stain. Okay, so that how much percent H2SO4 you have to give. So 20% H2SO4, we use it for the typical one which we test, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then 5% will be Mycobacterium leprae, that is leprosy, and coccidian parasites. So what is coccidian parasites? Coccidian parasites refer to what? You remember Cryptosporidium, Isospora, Cyclospora? Remember? So that is coccidian parasite. 1% is what? Nocardia and Legionella. 1%. Then again you come less, 0.5%. This is spores and head of sperm. Now one more important point is coccidian parasite. It is stained by cold Zn stain. Cold Zn stain means there is no heat. Heat is not there. That is called cold Zn stain, or you can also call it quinone stain. So this is used for what? Coccidian parasites. Okay. Another stain is Albert stain. See, Albert stain, no one will ask you the sequence or anything. Why? Because Albert stain is not used to differentiate between anything. ऐसा नहीं है like gram positive negative acid fast non, there is nothing to differentiate. You just have to stain the bacteria. You just need to stain. So first you just stain it and then you just fix it. You just stain it and fix it. For fixing, what do you need? The mordant, that is iodine. And to stain it, do you remember how Albert stain looks like? Corynebacterium, Chinese letter appearance, remember? Green bacteria with these violet ends. The basic thing is that you need something which is, in the stain you need something which is green color, and you need something which is blue or violet color, light blue or violet color. So green is the malachite green. Malachite green. And this blue or violet is toluidine blue. Toluidene, toluidine blue. Okay, so that is the stain. And also you add glacial acetic acid. Something you also have to remember, right? Everything will not have mnemonic. So another component is glacial acetic acid. So Albert stain, we tell that Albert stain has a Albert 1 and you also have a Albert 2. So Albert 1 is you stain it, Albert 2 is you fix it. Okay, so this, okay, next we'll go to a very important topic, Men syndrome. Okay, Men syndrome, there are 2 Men syndromes. One is Men 1, 2A and 2B. 2B is also known as Men 3. And remember, men are dominant. They want to dominate everything. So all Men syndromes are autosomal dominant. Now, what is the mnemonic? Before mnemonic, let us remember that MEN1 is also known as Werner syndrome. MER, remember? Werner. So, what is Werner syndrome? There is something called Werner syndrome. So, this is the progeria. Indian audience, do you remember there is a movie called Pa in which Abhishek Bachchan is the father of Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan is a child who ages very rapidly. Very much aging, he will become old very rapidly. So that is Werner syndrome or progeria, and here the defect is in DNA helicase. DNA helicase. Okay, and 2A is also known as what? Sippel syndrome. And all are autosomal dominant. So what is the gene here? See, MEN1 is the OG, the original MEN syndrome. So its gene name is menin. 2A and 2B, they both are 2, so both of them are RET, R-E-T, RET. Okay. Now, what are the defects? The mnemonic is, this is 3P, this is 2P plus 1M, and this one is 1P plus lots of M. Okay, let me write it as 2M. 3P, pituitary tumor, parathyroid adenoma, and pancreatic tumors. So pituitary tumor most common in men is prolactinoma. Parathyroid, this is adenoma. Remember the difference. See, here is also a parathyroid. Here also you have a parathyroid in men 2A. So this is parathyroid hyperplasia. This is parathyroid adenoma. So this is an important point in MCQ. You will do the mistake. Pancreatic tumor, here it is gastrinoma. Okay, here let's come to a parathyroid hyperplasia, then pheochromocytoma and medullary thyroid cancer. In men 2B or men 3, you have pheochromocytoma, medullary thyroid cancer, then Marfanoid habitus, mucosal neuromas, megacolon and medullated corneal fibers. Okay. Now remember, see, all of you ignore this last three, mucosal neuroma, megacolon and medullated corneal fiber. Everyone just forgets it. Okay. Another thing, see, pancreatic tumor, a general question, most common pancreatic tumor. What is that? Non-functional tumor. A tumor which does not produce any hormone. So that is the most common pancreatic tumor, non-functional. Most common functional pancreatic tumor is what? When you think of pancreas, what do you think? You think of insulin. So most common pancreatic tumor is insulinoma. Most common pancreatic tumor in men syndrome. Most common pancreatic tumor in men syndrome will be gastrinoma. Now, one more important question. Gastrinoma, most common site of gastrinoma is gastrinoma triangle or Passaro's triangle. You remember? So, most common site of gastrinoma is Passaro's triangle. But most common site of gastrinoma in men syndrome will be duodenum. Okay, remember this. Now quickly tell me the boundaries of gastrinoma triangle or Passaro's triangle. So, boundary is junction between cystic duct and common hepatic duct. Junction between head and neck of pancreas. Junction between second and third part of duodenum. You see this triangle? So this is the triangle which is Passaro's or gastrinoma triangle where gastrinoma most commonly arises. But if it asks about most common location of gastrinoma in a men syndrome patient, then answer will become duodenum. Okay. Another question all of you ignore it, that is the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland layers. Adrenal gland layers are what? GFR. Glomerular filtration rate. Okay. GFR. G for glomerulosa, F is fasciculata and R is reticularis. Remember, these are the layers of adrenal cortex. Medulla secretes epinephrine. That is separate. That is another thing. So this is the layer of adrenal cortex. And there is a mnemonic which is found in the foreign author books for the hormones of each layer. That is, the deeper you go, the sweeter it gets. And this mnemonic you will not find in Indian author books. Why? You will know very soon. So the deeper you go, the sweeter it gets. So this is actually outside to inside. Okay. Outside to inside. The deep. So you know the name of the hormone. There is some mineralocorticoid. And there is a glucocorticoid and there is sex corticoids. So which is which? Mineralocorticoids, of course, it's not sweet. What is sweeter? Glucocorticoid. And what is even more sweet than glucocorticoid? So got it? GFR. Glomerulosa mineralocorticoid, fasciculata glucocorticoid, and reticularis is sex corticoids. The deeper you go, the sweeter it gets. Now you understand why Indian author books do not mention this mnemonic, but it is a very famous mnemonic. Mnemonic, this is a very bad and useless mnemonic, but it is actually very useful. Tile. Nothing, this mnemonic is basically therapeutic index is equal to LD50 by ED50. Everyone knows it is some LD, some ED, but which one is which one? I have made this mistake hundreds of times. After that, I finally realized no matter how much logic I apply, I cannot remember. So I basically decided, let me remember it as style. Therapeutic index is LD50 by ED50. LD is lethal dose, ED50 is effective dose. Okay. Argyll Robertson pupil. This is seen in what? Tertiary syphilis. That is neurosyphilis, obviously. But everyone knows it is Argyll Robertson pupil. But accommodate and react whether it accommodates or not, and whether it reacts or not. How will you remember it? So when you think of syphilis, this is a STD, sexually transmitted disease. So think of sex workers. Tell me whether a sex worker accommodates and whether it reacts. Does a sex worker react? No. They are just doing it for the money. They won't react. Okay. Do they accommodate? Yes, of course. That is what they are taking the money for. That is what you are hiring them for. So from syphilis, remember, it will accommodate, but they will not react. Pin structures. That is, there is a greater sciatic foramen and there is a lesser sciatic foramen. Isn't it? In your sacrum bone, there is a hip bone, there is a greater and lesser sciatic foramen. So obviously greater foramen is a bigger foramen. I am just simplifying things. See, greater foramen is a bigger foramen, and imagine the lesser foramen is a small foramen inside it. Just imagine it, okay? Imagine. Don't go for actually. This is a lesser, and imagine this is a greater one. So obviously, the ones which will pass through the lesser foramen will also pass through the greater foramen. But greater foramen will have some structures which are exclusively in the greater foramen and not in the lesser foramen. So pin structures are what? They are the structures which are in both greater and lesser foramen. So let us expand the mnemonic. P is pudendal nerve. I is what? Internal pudendal vessels, artery, vein. Okay, vessels. N is nerve to obturator internus. Nerve to obturator internus. So these are the pin structures which pass through both greater and lesser foramen. So if question comes, which of these passes through both, you see these three options. The fourth one, anything else, you just eliminate it. Similarly, what passes through the lesser foramen? Obviously, lesser foramen will contain pin, right? That is. So anything other option you see, just mark that one. Okay. This is a Hindi term. Indian audience will be familiar. Nahi degi is used in memes, very common one. It basically means she will not give it to you. So you get it? What does that mean? So there is rectum. Behind the rectum, what is there? There is a sacrum bone, right? Then in front of the rectum, there is uterus or vagina, right? Done. So between the rectum and the sacrum, and between the rectum here, there is a separation, okay? There is a fossa. This one is a Waldeyer fossa. This one is Denon-Willard's fossa. But which one is which one? If you're a good child, you can remember. Sacrum looks like a wall. It looks like a stack of bricks stacked on top of each other. So Waldeyer is behind. Okay. Or you can also remember it as Nahi Degi. From Degi, you remember, she will not give it to you. What she will not give? I don't need to explain. It is self-explanatory. Denon-Willard's fossa is between rectum and vagina. This is between rectum and sacrum. You understood? There are two important bodies which will come in NEET. In INI, lot of things can come. But in NEET, you will either have Kahl-Exner bodies or you will have Schiller-Duval or glomerular bodies. Call X. What do you think? If you call your X, then what will happen? Hindi speaking people, X ko call karoge to kya maraoge? You know it, right? I don't want to write it. Kya maraoge? X ko call karoge to self-explanatory. So Kahl-Exner bodies is G, there is G only one tumor in ovary, granulosa cell tumor. So if that is granulosa cell tumor, then the other famous one, see, these two are the most probable questions. Schiller-Duval or glomerular bodies, that is seen in what? That is seen in yolk sac tumor. Then Rinke crystalloids. This is seen in Leydig cell tumor. Leydig cell tumor. Meig syndrome. Meig syndrome is a very famous question. This one I will tell you. It usually comes in medicine. Meig syndrome is seen in fibrothecoma. It is a triad. I will tell you about the triad later. Pseudomyxoma peritonei. Mucinous adenocarcinoma. Then OCT3, 4 or NANOG. These two markers you will read. What will be the answer? The only other famous tumor which is left, dysgerminoma. Dysgerminoma. OCT3, NANOG. Okay. Now tell me about Meig syndrome. There is a triad. Okay. What is the triad? One is fibrothecoma. Other one is what? Right-sided pleural effusion. Right side. Remember this word, right. And the other one is ascites. Ascites. So that is the triad of Meig syndrome. Okay, other than that, other things are self-explanatory. Like if it will tell ki HCG is increased, obviously HCG is synthesized by what? It is synthesized by syncytio trophoblast. So if HCG is increased, then it is a choriocarcinoma, chorion, something related to pregnancy, right? So like that. So these are simple questions. Like that, if AFP is increased, alpha fetoprotein, that is yolk sac tumor. Here AFP will be increased. But these are easy questions. The other one which I told you, what did I tell you right now? HCG, yes. If HCG is increased, then it is a choriocarcinoma. Okay. I think that's it for today. Thank you.